Feature in a Short.
Welcome to Feature in a Short. Feature in a Short is a monthly screening hosted by Four Wind Films, where an appointed contributor presents their chosen feature motion picture and short movie. The only condition for screening a selection, the presenter must have been directly involved with one picture, but not the other. I'm Justin Joseph Hall. Stephanie Gould was our presenter this week, and she does almost everything in post-production, including editing, animating, and color correction. She presented her short film, Dreaming, which was shot on film, originally accompanied by a modern dance. Tonight, however, since the film doesn't have any sound, we had a live score played along with the film. This was provided by composer Akiva Zamchek.
This short that I made has my friend Bridget in it, and for my screening at that festival, I showed the film with her dancing with the projection of the film. The film I made in one of the 8mm workshop. It's silent, but Akiva is going to play a live score for it. I shot it all so that I didn't have to do any editing, because I filmed everything very specifically timed out in sequence. I didn't actually end up editing this at all.
Cool.
Yeah, so this is just basically one reel of Super 8 film.
How did you do the kaleidoscope?
That's through these crystal prism things that I got. This sort of multifaceted clear glass. So for that, I was holding them in front of the lens, rotating them to get that refracted image. I made the film with this song in mind that didn't end up putting them together after I had finished it, but it was a song by friends of ours who had this band called Friend Roulette. It was a song called Garden's Tidings.
But you couldn't get the rights.
Couldn't get the rights. No, I don't know. It just, it just turned out as this silent film, and I like having a film that has no fixed soundtrack that could be reinterpreted in different ways. So I like that it can stand alone. The story is just sort of restless sleep and frantic visions or dreams.
Oh. Did you do a lot of coloring with this? Or?
No, I didn't do any.
I know that the fellow from Mano Noawari, he seems to be accumulating gear.
Actually, yeah, they're building a lab in Brooklyn. He got this huge piece of very expensive equipment from this Scientology church in California, and he had to drive across the country to go pick it up, and he brought it back here. He's a great guy to know if you're interested in doing any work with 16 or 8mm, especially. I wanted it to go from night to day, so yeah, that's sort of how the lighting goes.
And how long did you spend making it? Was it?
We filmed it over one night and then into the morning.
And how did you get the cat to
That was just a very lucky shot that I got of her. She's not trained at all.
Did you actually film the protagonist in her sleep?
No, I didn't. She was just acting. Maybe I should have done that, right?
That would have been hilarious.
Yeah.
The girl who was dancing during the performance.
So when I did it for that screening, I had her do a dance in front of the projection. So they were sort of in conversation with each other. I think I like images that have a lot of texture and almost feel tactile in a way. I always liked taking pictures on film because you can get those, marks on it from handling the film or dust and scratches, and I always like that extra layer to the imagery. Those little happy accidents.
Do you think it's too silly to intentionally corrupt your digital imagery?
I have done it. I think it's kind of silly, but I also find digital video to be too clean and flat. So for me, it feels nicer to watch when there's a little bit of softness to it.
So it's almost like looking back at that 8mm stuff has different connotations than it did in the 90s.
At the time, yeah, definitely. I think that with every new advance in technology, the era that is producing films in that medium always becomes iconic for that era.
Right.
Like VHS, or even the first HD video.
I'm running the same
Sort of
the same idea with my current project. I wanted to use like a higher tech camera, but I want it to feel like an indie film, so I want to use like a mid-level camera.
Can you tell the difference though between?
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, definitely. There's just more grain. The nicer camera you have, the cleaner it is just off the bat. It's
Even
like,
the mid-grade ones has.
yeah, because a lot of the darker tones have a lot more stuff in it. Also, the color profiles aren't quite as even all the time.
You don't, yeah, usually, and with higher end cameras, you get more latitude and color space.
Mm-hmm.
So you tend not to get overexposed whites and underexposed blacks, so they have much greater range.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a different effect.
Oh wait, if your mid-level camera is looking for today's look, what is the high-level camera supposed to signify then?
The future.
Yeah.
Future.
So
Didn't
fast.
you say as well that you wanted to look like an indie film, not
yeah,
like a...
not a Hollywood.
Not
film.
like
Yeah,
a
like a
blockbuster,
fancy,
yeah.
So maybe Hollywood films right now. That's what you'd want to use if you want.
For Steph's second film, since it's Oscar month, she chose a film by one of this year's Oscar nominees, Agnes Varda, called Mural Murals, or Mur Mur, which is a film of the famous Agnes Varda coming to the United States and doing a documentary in Los Angeles about murals and different paintings that live in the city.
I started watching her films several years ago. She's 89, French woman, and was very influential to the French New Wave cinema and has done a lot of documentaries and fiction films. I especially like her documentaries because she's very much a character in them as well. And I just think that her vision and way of presenting her films is really beautiful and interesting. This film is a documentary. It's set in LA, and she goes around the city and films all these various murals around LA in the 70s and talks to the artists and other people in the communities.
With this film, which focused a lot on the Chicanos of Los Angeles, we ended up picking up some pastries at a Mexican bakery and accompanying it with some nice beers to wash it down. There was a Coors Light advertisement in the film, so we had those for refreshments. After the film, we had a discussion on Agnes Varda and her style of film. We couldn't quite finish off the baked goods, but we sat around and talked for a while.
What's so ominous and prescient about this film, especially with the final scene and the very dramatic soundtrack, is it ends at the cusp of gentrification, like which it hints on. There's development happening, but that word doesn't exist in America yet, and the concept is beginning to become real to them in LA.
The real estate is mentioned.
Yeah. And they're starting to talk about it. They don't know what's about to happen, like because the 90s haven't happened yet. And there'll still be some time before people can even imagine how cities would be devastated by this. But just with that really dramatic soundtrack, it seems like there's an indication that this dream will be truly washed away, and she kind of sees it coming from afar. It's really quite beautiful.
So it was. Yeah, I think that was one of the reasons that I chose it, is that it's, when I saw it, which was only a couple of years ago, it still felt like very relevant.
Yeah, it's also very interesting seeing film because we don't, especially in the U.S., it doesn't happen as much. I feel like is having a foreign filmmaker, especially with somebody who's respected, come and see what they find interesting in American culture is interesting because we do that all the time, but it doesn't happen here as much.
There are a few great examples of Werner Herzog.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did his great study of the American bro in the early 2000s. My son, what have you done? And that takes place in Northern California.
Wow.
And it's actually the most accurate depiction of this American prototype.
Except for Borat, right?
It's very powerful having this French lady perform a little study of American culture.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like her especially though because she just seems interested in people and what they're doing with their lives. She doesn't project anything of her own ideas of how things should be onto them. She's just more like curious about what they're doing.
Except for with her visuals, and it's not, so it's not the characters, but like her style is so much with like, I thought this was fun to look at, and it's like constantly like that. Or this is what the music rhythm is like with the visuals or something.
Interesting, that party that was being planned, or there was a group that put on these temporary warehouse occupations and through like with some performance pieces. That little moment where they were painting like a mural over the course of the weekend and having different performances. It reminded me of like early New York examples that happened in North Brooklyn, Cat's Head and other dominant occupations in the waterfront that became Rubilon and other famous permanent parties.
I love watching documentaries from before the time that people grew up watching documentaries. So the people that speak, they don't know how one should speak on a documentary, so they come across very strange to us.
Non-actors, yeah, just regular people who agreed to be part of it. But yeah, she obviously just had a way of making people feel comfortable on camera. All the films of hers that I've seen that seem to have a similar feeling to them, and to me it seems like she's just a very approachable, interested person, and she wants to know about these different people.
You see her a lot in Faces Places.
I wonder what Agnes Varda's relationship was with Godard was like.
If you watch Faces Places, you'll find out.
I literally went.
With Godard?
Yeah, you should watch it. It's
Oh, and all her documentaries, you don't see her on screen a lot, but she's narrating
her,
them.
right?
Yeah, that was her narrating. She's very much a part of them.
yeah.
Great film choice. A lot of fun.
It was a pleasure to have you all listening again to Feature in a Short. We hope that you have seen or will see some of the films that we talk about. Please leave a comment on iTunes or wherever you find the podcast, or shout out to us on social media. We are always at 4Wind Films. That is FOURWINDFILMS. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next month.